Nestled in the Golden Hills north of San Francisco is Infineon Raceway. The IZOD IndyCar Series is here with just 5 races to go as we move a step closer to deciding who will be the 2011 IndyCar champion. The winds of change ushered in a renewed battle between Dario Franchitti and Will Power. Grasping hard to victories early on, Power found the air of misfortune strike mid-season. Forging ahead with the championship lead, Dario seemed unstoppable until Loudon.
Dario Franchitti has come across the front of the 5 of Takuma Sato.
Oh, that car is definitely
my goodness.
done.
Will the winds of change continue like last year and carry Power over the finish line first? Will Power wins his 5th event of the year.
Good job, boys. Good job.
Welcome to Peak Pole qualifying on Versus for tomorrow's IndyCar Grand Prix of Sonoma. The first round of knockout qualifying with Group 2 is underway, but before current track action, let's go back 2 weeks to what happened in the late stages of the race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where with light rain falling, the green came out.
Yeah, check out the outside row 3, Danica Patrick, when they drop the green. She breaks loose, takes Will Power and a bunch of other cars with her. This was at the end of the race, and Don, it was a mess.
It was a mess, and of course, Wally, up and down pit road and in the race cars, emotions were heated. You can see the rain on the lens of Danica Patrick. Michael Andretti wanting to know why did they throw the green. Will Power with that gesture cost him $30,000 in a fine just a few days ago. But Bob, while Ryan Hunter-Reay celebrated, there were protests being lodged.
Yeah, the finish was protested by both the Newman Haas and Target Chip Ganassi teams, claiming the green came out briefly. Oriol Servia passed Ryan Hunter-Reay and therefore should have been declared the winner. But a 3-judge panel in Indianapolis earlier this week issued this ruling, thus denying the protest. And the order that the cars were in before that final green came out was the final order. And so instead of having a relatively poor finish, Will Power actually ended up in 5th position. The drivers are on track in group number 2 of round number 1. Let's go first, however, down to the pits and Lindy Thaxton.
And that Loudon race winner doesn't even make it out of round 1 of qualifying today. After this morning's practice where he was 20th, he told me, we are completely lost. We're going to go back to the garage and, quote, redo everything. So he really didn't know what to expect when he got in the car to qualify. He was specifically unhappy with the car's handling in turns 4 and 11, and he told me, I will be shocked if I make it out of round 1. And Kevin Lee, he was right.
Lindy, Oriol Servia is just about to exit his pit stall. He's in group number 2. He said he's been wrestling with how to get past what happened at New Hampshire. They felt like they won. They felt like their second career win was taken away as far as Oriol is concerned. And he said his engineer, this is Bruno Capri in the gray sweatshirt, said it best. We finished first. We just didn't win. Now, the positive is that the program continues to improve. Here's a look at a shot on the steering wheel as well. They feel like that they can keep moving forward. They feel like they're in a position now where they can make Penske and Ganassi worry a little bit. They still were strong as a program at New Hampshire, and Oriol Servia is 4th in points. Marty?
Well, Kevin, many people think the poll today at Infineon will come down to our championship contenders, Dario Franchitti and Will Power. I talked to Dario just moments ago. He just now pulled out onto the race course, and he said, you know, New Hampshire was clearly not good for us. We lost a lot of points, but there has been no panic on this race team from the time we showed up to the test this entire weekend. He said, I feel like the tracks lay out very well for us to win this championship. When I talked to Will Power, he sees it very differently. He said, you've got to remember, I came into this race last year up 59 points on Franchitti, lost all of that, and he won the championship. I only have 47 points to make up, and you've got to remember a lot of street and road courses left in the 2011 season, so Will Power still feeling very good about his championship chances. And Bob, doesn't it always seem these two duking it out head-to-head, aren't they?
That's been the story the last couple of years, Marty. This is a 15-minute session for round number 1. And in the second round now, the fastest 6 from these 2 groups in round number 1 will go into round number 2 for a 10-minute session. And then the Firestone Fast Six is also a 10-minute session. We have some new faces in the series this week. There is Simone Pagenaud, who was substituting for Simona De Silvestro, who had some visa problems getting back into the United States. Giorgio Pontano is substituting for Justin Wilson here this weekend.
Now, the whole story for Simona is that she had done the test here at Infineon, decided to go back to Switzerland to visit family. On her way back in, all of her paperwork was in order, but they didn't like how many times she'd been in and out of the country, including Canada. And so one very aggressive border patrol guard said, sorry, you're going back to Switzerland.
There is Pontano, and that is the correct pronunciation, by the way, of that name. He's an Italian driver. And in the seat of Justin Wilson's car this year. Of course, Wilson was injured, suffering some back injury at Mid-Ohio. Round number 1 qualifying underway here at Sonoma.
IZOD IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win. And by IZOD, the official apparel of the IZOD IndyCar Series. Available at Macy's.
Peak pole qualifying here at Infineon Raceway. We are in Group 2 of Round 1. In Group number 1 of Round 1, these are the 6 drivers who have advanced into the second round. They include Will Power, who of course is the second in the point standings. Ryan Briscoe advanced, so did Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, Mike Conway, and E.J. Viso. Now we are in group number 2, and Anna Beatrice is one of the fastest. In fact, she is second quick right now in this session. Dario Franchitti is the best with a lap at 1 minute 18.658 seconds. That translates to a speed of 105.4 miles an hour. Anna just dropped to third as Elio Castroneves moves up into the second position. Hinchcliffe is fourth, and Tagliani and Pontano sixth quick.
Red, of course, as the colors go. Red means, as for Franchitti and Pontano, Pontano just turned green because he left the pit. So red is on pit lane. Here's Pontano. And yellow means that you have a great lap going in the case of Castroneves, but he's early on in the segments.
Pretty impressive run so far this weekend here at Infineon. He was 13th fastest overall, and Takuma Sato has spun right in the middle of the racetrack. He could have kept
going straight. He's trying to find reverse now. I'm surprised that he didn't. There's not much of a drop off there, Wally. You could just go out in the dirt and circle around.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's what he's going to do.
Yeah.
So no full course caution. Qualifying continues.
The problem is getting that stuff. You get all those little rocks and dirt that get in your calipers and between your rotor and all that. Those rocks get in really bad places when you drive off course, even going that slow.
Elio will pit. He's second quick. Beatrice third as we're nearing the end of the round 1 group 2 qualifying. Beatrice still up there in third position here. Tagliani to fifth.
And Hinchcliffe is coming down into finishes now. He's fourth right now, but this is as good. And he should be able to maintain that fourth spot.
He does. Saw the broken line across the racetrack. That is where the timing and scoring stops for qualifying, at least. So Hinchcliffe fourth, Tagliani and Pontano are fifth and sixth as we're on board with Oriol Servia.
Now he's a little bit outside where he needs to be, Bob. Oh, in that last segment, he lost some more time. So for a moment, it looked like Servia might have a shot at getting in the top 6, but now it is not looking good. It would take a miracle down this last session for him. Man, he's got to be thinking so close.
Servia's best start here at Sonoma was back in 2008. He began from outside row number 3. Here he comes through the S's, and right there is the mark for the clock to stop. And Servia is not going to advance. Here comes Vitor Mira, and he will not advance. So Franchitti, Castroneves, Beatrice, Hinchcliffe, Tagliani, and Pontano.
Wow.
That's a different group.
Yeah, no kidding.
Dreyer and Reinbold, way to go. Robbie Buell and Dennis Reinbold, 2 of them in the top 6.
Among those not advancing, Marco Andretti, Sato, Servia, Hildebrand, Pagano, Tung, Kimball, and Mira.
It's all right, you got some time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
There's Alex Tagliani, a 2-time pole sitter this year in the IZOD IndyCar Series, pulling in. A lot of these guys really didn't practice all that well in the practice that we had yesterday afternoon and today, but they have picked up the pace here in qualifying. So once again, here are the drivers from group number 2 who advanced to the second round. Coming up in just a few moments, Franchitti, Castroneves, Beatrice, Hinchcliffe, Tagliani, and Giorgio Pontano was 6th fastest. Here is Robin Miller.
You know, Bobby, I was going to say that Hinchcliffe, his good season continues, and he's a good story. And, of course, Sebastian Bourdais, who's a part-time driver. But as Jan just said, Dreyer and Reinbold stole the show so far because Anna's never made it to round 2. And the most important thing to remember is she's really been struggling on road courses, and that's where she came from. Pontano, he was good here in the front row, I think, for his debut with Ganassi a couple years ago. The guy was headed for Formula 1 stardom. Who knows what happened to him? But this is what Dreyer and Reinbold needs. I think a lot of us, like myself, questioned why didn't it put Pagano back in their car, and there was some talk that maybe they were worried about him driving for another team. It sounds like Pagano brought a little bit of money, but it looks like it's a good investment. Would you say so, Mr. Kevin Lee?
Sounds good, and he's very impressive. And another guy that's got some Formula 1 experience, a test driver in F1, Ho Pin Tung, is back with us. We first met you in Indianapolis. You were very impressive, ran good quick laps, unfortunately crashed in your qualifying effort. Back here with Sam Schmidt in Dragon Racing, how challenging is it to get in these cars and try to figure out this course really quickly?
I mean, it's a really hard thing to jump in, like just midway the season in such a competitive field. But the guys are taking great care of me, and obviously it was a big advantage that I've already ran with them at Indy. So I knew the team, and we're just gradually building up to it. We were a bit unfortunate in qualifying. I think our group was slightly faster. Would have seen like quite a few positions more up on the field if we would have been in the other group. But that's racing, and tomorrow race, and looking forward to it.
You'll become the first Chinese driver to start an IndyCar race in the Mouser.com car. Also, keep in mind, guys, that there's about a 90% chance, according to Terry Engstad and Randy Bernard with IndyCar, that IndyCar will be going to China next year. So having Ho Pin Tung involved would be pretty critical to that effort, Bob.
And we do recall the incident at Indianapolis on his qualifying run. Down into turn number 1, back in comes around, and Tung was hard into the wall. He suffered a concussion and therefore was not ready to race for the Indianapolis 500. But here this weekend in Sonoma, and it was not among those who transferred into round number 2, but he will begin tomorrow's race from the 24th starting position here at Infineon Raceway. There's Dario Franchitti. He's ready to go in round number 2, and so is Will Power. We'll be back for it in a moment.
The Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. Green flag will wave, and Will Power with a tremendous jump.
Well, Will Power is running a second quicker than the 4 guys behind him right now.
Here's the leader.
Here he is.
And Dixon stays on track.
Hey, Scott, this is Ganassi. You know what you have to do.
Green flag.
Oh, he's right on him.
Dixon, wow.
Local yellow will wave as here comes Will Power to the chicane for the final time.
Will Power wins his 5th event of the year.
Yeah, boys. Good job.
And here in 2011, Will Power has a 47-point deficit. Dario Franchitti, the points leader going into this event here this weekend. Scott Dixon is 3rd in points, just 73 behind, and then Servia and Tony Kanaan. And there you see 6 through 10 in the point standing. Some of the positions are very close. The second round has begun here in knockout qualifying. 12 drivers, and the top 6 will go into the Firestone Fast Six coming up in just a little less than, or a little more than 10 minutes. As far as the grid and where it stands right now, Graham Rahal will start in 13th position, then Andretti. Martin Plowman was the quickest in the practice earlier today. However, he'll start in 15th position. James Jakes was also fast in the practice. He will start in 17th position. Tony Kanaan down in 21st. The rest of the starting lineup, there you see Sebastian Saavedra and Danica Patrick. The worst-kept news in sports was made official earlier this week. Of course, she will move to the Nationwide Series next year full-time with occasional Sprint Cup races. She will start in 25th position tomorrow in the IndyCar Grand Prix of Sonoma. Marty?
Well, Bob, now we get to see the head-to-head battle between Will Power and Dario Franchitti. And a little gamesmanship, everyone trying to save as much time as they can on their tires. In that first session, Will Power put 2 laps on those red tires. Dario Franchitti put 3 laps on his. We'll see if that 1 lap makes a difference. Of course, in this round, they'll go out on sticker tires. Will told me moments ago it's nearly impossible to put together the perfect lap, but he knows all about it. Started on the pole and won the race here last year as he gets ready to head out on pit road. Kevin?
Marty, a new face here in round number 2 of knockout qualifying, and it's Anna Beatrice from Dreyer and Reinbold. Her best start this season on a non-oval, 20th. She started 11th on an oval earlier this season, but they came in with some confidence. Dreyer and Reinbold tested here last week. They were 7th quick in the practice session yesterday, so Robbie Buell, Dennis Reinbold, and the folks felt like they would have a competitive car this weekend, and so far so good for Anna Beatrice. She was 3rd in her group in round number 1. Lindy?
Alex Tagliani told me before round 1, if I make it out of round 1, it will be like I have won pole position. He said, in fact, I will go to Vegas on Monday. Up until now, he's had a terrible weekend. Martin Plowman, his teammate, tested here last week. Alex didn't. He took Martin's setup and what he had learned, and it just plain does not work for him. He said after this morning warm-up, they changed countless things. All they've done, Bob, right now is made a spring change before he heads out.
Lindy, before we go any further, let's acknowledge the fact that we are under what can only be described as perfect weather conditions here in the San Francisco area. We are very well aware of all the things that are going on along the East Coast, and all of us here at Versus are thinking about you, and we hope that your encounter with Hurricane Irene will not be too bad. So we're thinking of you, and we wish you the best the next couple of days. All right, we're on board with Will Power.
Yeah, you'll see how busy this place is just riding on board here with Will's car. This is very, very, I mean, you don't get a whole lot of resting here. This is probably the longest straightaway these guys have.
And what Will's doing right now, Wally, of course, is getting the tires and the temperatures up slowly. You don't want to go out of the pits and just light it up. It's all about just building up slowly and then hitting that sweet spot.
We saw the fact that he won the race here at Sonoma last year, and that was the year after he had an incredible crash here at Sonoma in practice in the 2009. Over the top of the hill, that's E.J. Viso, but hitting him square, that's Nelson Philippe that Will Power hit. Will Power suffered injuries that put him on the sidelines for the rest of the year, airlifted from the racetrack. But he came back last year with a victory. Marty?
Yeah, Bob, I asked him about that just moments ago. I said, does it still spook you to come to this racetrack? He said, no. He said, I think turn 3, I'm reminded of it every time I go through there. He said, I think there still need to be some safety improvements for these cars in that corner. He said, it's probably fine for NASCAR, but when we come here, we need a few things different over there. And he said he's going to ask the track to maybe make some of those changes, but clearly didn't spook him last year, did it, guys? Led all but 2 laps in this race, winning from the pole.
Yeah, and the thing about that, where Marty was talking about where that incident happened, you're coming up over the hill. It's a blind hill. You cannot see anything until you get up over the top, and that's why when that car was sitting there sideways, Will Power had no idea that that car was sitting there, and by the time you get up over the hill, there's nowhere you can go. So it'd be nice to have either a light up there or some kind of a flagging system to let people know that there's, the track is blocked.
Just crossed the line. And he moves to 6th. Elio Castroneves is the fastest so far.
Now keep an eye here. Ryan Briscoe. Oh, he drops a wheel, but this way he had great splits. He should go to the top if he didn't give it away. And there he goes.
All right, 3 more laps. 3 more. P1. 3 more.
And 3 more laps, Bob, of course. And Wally, as you know, that's your fuel load. They only put enough fuel in for a certain number of laps. And if you laid it down, you have 3 to go. That's good for Briscoe.
So that means he's got to hold his breath for an additional 2 laps. And now you see this shot compared to Will Power's shot when he was just warming his tires up. Watch his hands. This car, he'll do a lot of correcting right there in the steering wheel because these cars are sliding on. They're trying to get everything they can out of this race car here for these qualifying laps.
And here's his teammate, Castro Neves, has great splits going as well. So he wants to try and steal away this top time at the moment from his teammate. And it's all about this final one, a little lockup. But these are good splits. He may now go to the top.
Nope, stay second.
That lockup cost him.
It cost him that just little bit there. Because I think he got up, once he locked it up, he kind of lost his line a little bit. He jumped that curb where normally you want to stay a little bit more off that curb.
And there goes Will Power back to the top.
Wow, what a lap, too. 18.2. That's by a bunch.
3/10, as you can see the intervals as you count down.
One of Will's 21 pole positions in his IndyCar Series career came here last year at Sonoma, winning the pole and winning the race. Elio has won a pole here, and so has Ryan Briscoe. And those are the 3 drivers at the top of the list right now, with Franchitti, Dixon, and Hinchcliffe, the other 6, trying to get into the Firestone Fast Six.
Great look at those elevation changes. That's what makes this racetrack so much fun to drive, is those elevation changes. And of course, Will Power backing off, but cognizant of the fact that Dario is behind him. Well, we hope so.
Tell me what you want me to do.
And that always helps. I think when you're chasing somebody like that, Jan, it actually helps you put in a lap. It looks like he slowed down too.
Yeah, they're both gapping each other.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a progressive thing.
Less than 2 minutes to go.
Let's do one more just for practice. Your lap time is fine. Your lap time is fine. Up to you. You got a minute and a half.
That's Tim Cindric talking to Will Power. Here comes Dario.
And see, the driver doesn't know what he's run or what he's done, so he's just trying to get confirmation from your crew chief that, you know what, you've got enough buffer there that you're going to make it.
And the reason that Will asks, tell me what to do, because if your team leader feels like you have enough of a margin, you want to pull in, just like Marty was saying earlier. You want to save those tires. You don't want to put any more laps on them than you have to.
Dario is the only 2-time winner of the pole position. Here is Elio, of course. Wow. Dario won the pole in 2007 and 2009, and this may bring out a full course. Nope, he's got it running.
Oh, he's got power, and he's backing it up. He'll keep his time as long as they don't go full course.
Here's what happened.
The top. Oh, there was dust on the racetrack.
Yep.
So someone had dropped wheels and came back on at the exit right as he was getting ready to turn for turn 4. Now, if he backed up enough to keep it from going, because he backed up a long ways, as long as they don't go full course, he'll get to keep his times.
And then when I brake, it just went straight.
Yep, no, you're right.
10-4.
Power, Briscoe, Castro Neves, Franchitti, Dixon, and Hinchcliffe, the top 6. Conway trying to get in, so is Sebastian Bourdais. Dario completes another lap. And that is the end of the session, but of course, cars on track will still be able to complete their lap. Conway, Bourdais, and Viso trying to get in.
Looks like Hinchcliffe is going to hang on to that 6th spot. Great job for him.
And here comes Viso. That's actually a drag strip here at Sonoma that they're on right now, braking hard into turn number 7. Viso on the reds.
Timeline and pit.
The splits say he will stay in 9th.
And that is the case. Yep. So that is going to complete round number 2 of knockout qualifying.
Bring her in nice and easy here because we got some carts running up and down the pit.
And we know the drivers who will be moving into the Firestone Fast Six that will determine the Peak Pole Award winner and the other 5 starters as they take a look at the front suspension on Dario's car. Here are the 6 that move on to round number 3 coming up in just a moment. Will Power was the quickest in that session. Then Briscoe, Castro Neves, Franchitti, Dixon, and James Hinchcliffe also wins, or at least gets into the 3rd round. Robin, Elio's still out there trying to get going again.
You know, Bobby, it's hard to believe that you would think a guy like that with his resume has a lot of pressure on him, but we've been hearing things like Penske may only run 2 cars next year, and it might just be Briscoe and Will Power, and we heard that there was a deal shop that Honda was trying to put a deal together with Tony Kanaan and Castro Neves as teammates. So, you know, even Elio said, you know, I don't know what's going to happen next year. I'm just going to try and win a couple races. And I think it's hard to imagine that with the career this guy's had that you would think that he would not be with Roger Penske. But I think there's more to it than we ever would imagine.
Yeah, that is a very good question. What is going to be the situation with Elio next year? Coming into this race, he has not had what would be called a really good season. But Elio was 3rd in this session. Ryan Briscoe ready to go out. So is Will Power. And we'll be back with the 3rd round of qualifying in a moment.
To go at the line, it's still raining.
There's no way, man. It's raining. It's wet. Hey, seriously, it's raining pretty good.
Now we see the pace car's got the wipers on. Not much we can do. Green, green. Yellow, yellow, yellow.
Oh, and a spin all the way in the start. We've got cars going everywhere.
Your leader is car number 2. Okay, leader is now 28.
We are going into a red flag situation. Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be your race winner.
It was a mistake on race control's part, and the only right thing to do and the fair thing to do is go back to the running order prior to that restart.
I don't know. To me, we won the race. Wish it was in a little bit of a different way, but we'll absolutely take it after the year we've had.
The appeal was made and the results were confirmed. Ryan Hunter-Reay wins his first race of 2011, and Will Power, it could have been a lot worse for him. He was shown in the 5th position, the running order that they were in prior to the drop of that final green flag. Earlier today, the CEO of the IndyCar Series, Randy Bernard, talked about the results at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and the president of competition, Brian Barnhart.
I want to make it very clear. I'm 100% supportive of Brian Barnhart and his team. And I think that at the end of this season, we will reevaluate the rule book. I want to make sure that the rules in that rule book are what fans, the team owners, drivers want to see. And safety, of course, is a very important part of that.
And so we heard it once again today, guys, a vote of confidence for Brian Barnhart. But I think the word that we hear most up and down pit road is consistency, Wally.
I think so. Now, I don't think there's a whole lot wrong with the rule book right now. I think that the biggest complaint in the garage area is a lack of consistency. That's been the biggest problem with some of the calls that have been made this year. But also, I think this is the most competitive that the IndyCar Series has been in a long, long time. I think there's a lot more people driving and racing for that same space of real estate. And if that's the case, it puts a lot more pressure and a lot more calls that chief steward has to make.
And Wally, what a great segue, because the championship being so close, the cars being so close, qualifying this year has been everything. So this final Fast Six, when you get there, it's a huge sense of relief. But the fact of getting those last few positions, we know all year it's come down to qualifying.
Firestone Fast Six coming up. Let's go, in the meantime, down to Robin Miller.
Well, it's obviously no surprise I've been one of Barnhart's biggest critics, but I think in this whole thing with Loudon, fellas, Johnny Rutherford called in and said it's too wet, and he said now he wished he'd have stayed out on the racetrack because nobody paid any attention to him. And Kevin Blanche talked to Oriole Servia and said, is it too wet? What's the condition? Servia said it's raining harder now than it was when you guys went yellow. We can't run in this. So Barnhart had either had some information and didn't regard it or didn't get the word. And the most important thing to remember is all these drivers all years have talked about how they've lost respect for him, and they don't listen to what he says anymore because they don't think it does any good. And Randy can say all he wants about the rule book, but I think it's time for a change, and I think a lot of people here, if you put them on a polygraph, would agree with me.
All right, Robin. Well, the discussion will continue. That's what I guess this series is all about. We'll have more with Randy Bernard tomorrow. We'll also have a feature on J.R. Hildebrand, a local boy. That is in our IndyCar Central presented by Verizon, which comes on the air at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. The green flag for the Sonoma race will be at approximately 4:50 tomorrow. Dario Franchitti is trying to win a pole position here, but he has been a victor in the race. The most recent time was 2 years ago. Dario Franchitti wins his fourth victory of the season.
You're the man. You are the man. You also got back points this weekend. Thank you. Thanks, boys. That was awesome. Great job, guys. Great pit stop.
This is crucial for the championship.
The combatants in the Firestone Fast Six. James Hinchcliffe is first. Scott Dixon was fifth fast in round number 2. Fourth quickest was Dario Franchitti. Third, Elio Castroneves. Second was Ryan Briscoe. And the fastest was Will Power. Here are the numbers, including today. Will Power has been in the Firestone Fast Six all 8 races this year. Scott Dixon has missed 1, and you can see that the drivers on that list, all but 1, are going into round number 3 here in Sonoma. But the driver who has never been in the Firestone Fast Six, James Hinchcliffe, also a member today. Here's Marty.
Yeah, let's give a call to old Hinch. First time he's ever been on the Firestone Fast Six, and even more impressive, Bob, considering the fact that he's one of the very few drivers who did not test here last week. He came to the test, and he told me he watched the race course from every conceivable possible position. He watched how guys got into corners, how they got off corners. Clearly that helped, but he didn't test here, and still in the Firestone Fast Six. Kevin?
Marty, Robin detailed Elio Castroneves' somewhat uncertain future, and he desperately needed a good, at least starting position to give him a chance this weekend. After he finished second at Edmonton, 19th and 17th in the last 2, so he's trying to get back on track. There goes Elio out on course now. Castroneves is just 11th in points. This is the 3rd time he's in the Firestone Fast Six. He's always been good here. Top 4 all 6 times. Car a little bit loose in that second session, so they went a little bit back, but that car has been good all weekend. They rolled off the transporter, running well. Lindy?
And that rivalry continues. Penske versus Ganassi. Will it be one of the 5 or will it be Hinch? They all have good stats here. In fact, Will, Elio, Dario, and Scott, they've all had poles here. They've all won here. Briscoe himself has a pole here. As for the Ganassi boys, they've not asked for any changes these entire sessions. They're very happy with the car. They say it's different than when they tested here, but as usual, Bob, they've gotten comfortable very quickly.
Well, let's see how it goes, Lindy, as the round 3 is underway, and James Hinchcliffe is on the racetrack, trying to win his very first pole. His best start on a road course this year was 7th at Mid-Ohio, so he has his best start already. There are the rules for the Firestone Fast Six. A very quick 10-minute session, and then we will award the Peak Pole Award and decide the other top 6 starters.
Looking through the season, you would have to put James Hinchcliffe right at the top of people who have surprised and impressed. He has been not just on road courses, on street courses, ovals. He's been the real deal this year.
Yes, he has been. He's done a really good job. He's had some really good finishes going with him and had some problems, but these guys, they are the real deal.
We another inaugural event coming up a week from tomorrow in Baltimore, and we can't wait for that. A street course looks to be a very competitive one. Certainly a lot different from this natural terrain road course here, but we're looking forward to the inaugural race next Sunday in Baltimore. You'll see it live right here on Versus. James Hinchcliffe's best start of 2011 was just 2 weeks ago when he started 4th at Loudon. So, Jan, you are right. This guy has really been impressive in his first full season of IZOD IndyCar Series competition. Driving for Newman Haas. When you go back and look at the history of this place, you know who won the very first pole position for an IndyCar Series race here at Infineon Raceway? And I get to mention 2 legendary names. That's why I like to do this. The pole sitter was Mark Donahue. And the race winner was the legendary Dan Gurney. All right, Marty, Hinchcliffe out on the racetrack.
Well, and remember Mid-Ohio, we talked about he started 7th there. He got knocked out of the Firestone Fast Six at the very last moment. He told me he was crushed by that, so he's probably thrilled to be in it today. But how impressive has he been lately? Remember they had 26 laps at Mid-Ohio, didn't have a strong finish there. 4th last week in New Hampshire. You guys talk about him being certainly one of the stories of the year. He is certainly that as we watch Will Power out there on the racetrack, and he called Scott Dixon as soon as he left pit road. So had to give himself a little bit of a gap, guys.
On board with Will Power. This is a great shot, too, because he, like I said, he wrings everything out of a race car you can on a qualifying lap.
Now, when he gets up to speed and you get up here through the carousel, once you get into where it's really heavily loaded, right in this area, you're over 3 Gs of side load, and you take that corner, Wally, in 4th gear. You're flying.
You have a lot of faith in your equipment at that point.
Now, one of the slipperiest corners on the racetrack that everyone's been complaining about is right there, turn 7. And it's only 40 miles an hour. And they feel that this particular weekend, and he's making adjustments as we speak in the cockpit to try and tune that in. And those slow corners in 2nd gear have been a handful for almost everyone, including Power.
Castro Neves fastest. Let's see what Will does. He's about to cross the line.
It's still warm up, Bob.
Yeah, he hasn't started a lap yet.
Okay. Castro Neves, Briscoe, and Franchitti then have turned in fast laps, and so has James Hinchcliffe. Power and Dixon getting up to speed.
Gets it up through here. Watch his hands. You see a lot of correction in the car here. And like I said, this is when you're on a qualifying lap, you're sliding the car a lot. Watch up through here as well. Previous laps, he's
been wide there.
Look at that. A lot of correction. That's coming up over the hill. The car gets light. Usually you lose all grip in all 4 tires in that corner.
He's trying. He didn't hit all those apexes, but he's still after it. Now that apex, lots of people go wide. You don't have to hit that one. A lot of people stay wide in the carousel. Here's the turn 7 I was talking about. Really slick on entry.
And he carries a ton of speed through these corners right here. What's it look like, John?
His splits will take him up to the top, not surprisingly. He's a second faster than he was on his previous lap. He's shooting for an 18.8.
They're on board for a pole run here, possible pole run. And there's the line. To the top.
Yep. Power to the top. Castro Neves, his teammate, and Briscoe. All 3 Penske cars, 1, 2, and 3. Dario, 4th quick right now.
You mentioned he's 4th, but his splits say 2nd. So if he can bring it home on this last section, he'll be nipping at the heels of Will Power.
Franchitti 2 pole positions this year at Milwaukee and 2 weeks ago in Loudon. Here comes the line.
It's going to be close to a 19 even.
It's still way off of Power's run.
Yeah.
He remains 4th. Here's Ryan Briscoe, who is currently 3rd quick.
And we've seen that a lot last year. I remember that in pole qualifying as well, that you had people with splits that came into these last 2 corners looking good. And there's a lot on the line on the way you make these last couple of corners. Briscoe also staying stationed in 3rd. Castro Neves now trying to bring... He may have a shot to go up to 2nd. Oh, he's in 2nd, sorry.
Yeah.
Maintain 2nd.
I mean, these guys got to find almost a half a second in order to beat Power. That's going to be pretty hard to do.
Yep. Power 49/100ths of a second faster than Castro Neves. As we jump on with Will once again.
Last lap.
5 pole positions this year for Will Power. St. Pete, Barber, Long Beach, Brazil, and Toronto.
And I don't know if he needs this lap, but he'll be concerned about traffic ahead. But like you say, Wally, he's already laid down a great number.
Checkered flag is out. Session is over.
No risk, bud. No risk. We're okay here.
I'll second that. Yeah, he just enough.
Now Briscoe has a shot. He had some good splits, but I'm not sure he carried enough speed through there. He definitely carried it in.
Nope.
But maintains third.
Stays third. Team Penske 1, 2, and 3.
Castro Neves maintains the Penske 1, 2, 3.
So Franchitti not at the moment up in the top 3. We saw Scott Dixon go by. Here comes Power completing his lap. And it would appear as if Will Power has done it once again and won his 6th pole in the 2011 IZOD IndyCar season, and his 2nd pole here at Sonoma, and in fact 2 in a row. Castro Neves 2nd, Briscoe, Franchitti, Dixon, and Hinchcliffe is the way they finished up in this 3rd round of qualifying for tomorrow's IndyCar Grand Prix of Sonoma. We'll be back to talk with Will Power, the peak pole position winner, in a moment. It's been a while since qualifying was dominated by Team Penske the way it has been today. In fact, the last time that Team Penske started 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in an IZOD IndyCar Series event was on July the 4th, 2010, when Power, Briscoe, and Castroneves were 1, 2, 3. Today, it's Power, Castroneves, and Briscoe, the way they will line up for tomorrow's race. Down to the Peak Pole Award winner and Marty Snyder.
Well, when you win the Peak Pole Award, you get a very large check in the form of $10,000 for Mr. Will Power, his 6th of the year. And you know what? You were only half a second faster than everybody today. Were you taking it easy on him or what?
No, definitely not. I worked hard for that one. I mean, you know, we were just smart with our tires on the first 2 rounds, and then, you know, we knew we just had to lay one down the 2nd lap in that last round to be on pole. So we did that. It's awesome to get the Verizon car on pole again. It's been a while, and seem to have our qualifying pace back.
1, 2, 3 for Penske. What does that mean for the overall organization? But for you guys battling for a championship, what does it mean to be on the pole here?
Yeah, I think it's very important here. Tough to pass. Obviously, you know, if a yellow falls in the wrong place, you can go way to the back like happened to us at Mid-Ohio. But Dave Penske 1, 2, 3 is really good. We've got 2 guys up there in between the target cars, and that's what we need.
If you want, you can use that for part of your fine, but you can wave to race control today. Just wave to him. Say, hi, guys. How you doing? There you go. He's got 10 grand to go towards that 30 he's got to pay out. Kevin?
Elio Castroneves is going to stay next to his teammate Will Power coming up tomorrow. You needed this one. This week was your best start of the year.
Absolutely. I'm very, very excited. I thank for the entire Team Penske. You know, this was awesome. But first, this is one of my opportunities. I got to thank a lot of people. Guide Point System, Shelby Power, AAA Insurance, Penske Truck Rental, Snap-on, PTC, Comfort Revolution, Team Penske. Man, everybody. and everybody.
You're not going to NASCAR, are you? Run off those sponsors.
You know, you start getting used to they believe in me. Everybody believes in me, so it's great. But, you know, it's great to be finally in the front row with everyone. Certainly is a credit for Team Penske because 1, 2, 3 just showed that we're working. We get our butt a little kick sometimes, but it's good, so we can come back and be better.
Got to be fast, but you also got to take care of the sponsors. Elio Castroneves getting that done. He'll start 2nd here tomorrow. More to come. Stay with us here from Infineon Raceway. This is the IZOD IndyCar Series on Versus.
IZOD IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
Back at Infineon Raceway yesterday, Dario Franchitti topped the practice charge. Today, a fight out there. You end up 4th. What was the difference?
I think we worked very hard on getting both target cars having a really good balance on the Firestone Blacks, and we put the reds on and the car just was terrible. So, you know, we were just fighting out there rather than trying to put up a quick lap. It was a case of trying to keep it out of the weeds out there, and you know, that was it. We made a couple of changes throughout the session, but we just really didn't nail it. So we've got a lot of work to do tonight because we are going to have to use the reds at one segment of the race tomorrow. So, yeah, a little bit of work to do tonight, I think.
Dario, a former winner, hoping to repeat it tomorrow, Bob.
He will start fourth. And what do you think about this? Maybe the rumor mill gets going here as Dan Weldon on the right talks to Michael Andretti on the left. And there's a seat open at Andretti Autosport for next year with Danica Patrick departing. Here is the starting grid for tomorrow's race. James Hinchcliffe, the fastest rookie. He'll start sixth. That's his best start in an IZOD IndyCar Series event. And Anna Beatrice also with a good run. She will go from the 10th starting position in tomorrow's race. Giorgio Pontino starts from 11th. Alex Tagliani will go from 12th. Marco Andretti 14th down through Ryan Hunter-Reay, the last race winner in 2 weeks. And there is the rest of the starting grid for tomorrow's event. Coming up next, the world of adventure sports. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern for the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. For more information on the IZOD IndyCar Series, go to NBCSports.com. Congratulations to Will Power, winner of the Peak Pull Award here at Infineon Raceway, Sonoma, California. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with those of you along the East Coast. For Jan Beekes, Wally Dallenbach, Kevin Lee, Marty Snarder, Lindy Thaxton, and Robin Miller, I'm Bob Jenkins. See you tomorrow at 4 Eastern.
IZOD IndyCar Series, presented by the NBC Sports Group.